What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN's live stream of Tomb Raider. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. We're about to show you a good long look at the game, but before we do that, let me introduce our panel of developers from Crystal Dynamics here. Gentlemen, could you please introduce yourselves and let everyone know what roles you have played in the shaping of the new Tomb Raider?
Hi, everybody. My name is Noah Hughes. I'm creative director on the new Tomb Raider.
My name is Brian Horton. I'm the senior art director of Tomb Raider.
My name's Daryl Gallagher. I'm the studio head and franchise steward of Tomb Raider.
And of course, we have a live studio audience here joining us for this live stream today. Audience, say hi to the viewers at home. We're going to play about an hour of the game for you, and then we're going to take some questions both from here, from our audience, and from you viewers at home. So audience members, start thinking about questions, and then at the end of the hour, I'll ask you to queue up at a microphone over here to the side of the stage. If you're at home, you can tweet questions at IGN, #Tomb Raider, and we'll answer them for you live right before your very eyes. Noah, where are we in the game?
All right, this is, a lot of people have heard about Lara's first kill, so we're starting after that point.
Okay.
Lara's gotten a pistol off this guy and basically has to make her way up the mountain to meet up with Roth.
Okay.
That's a good start.
That's how you know it's live.
That is definitely live.
So are there any questions so far about what we've seen?
Is this a live demo?
Give us 1 second here to reboot the game, and then we'll jump right back into it. But Brian and Daryl,
Yeah.
so what do people need to know about the new Tomb Raider? It's coming out March 5th, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So where are you at this point? You don't have much time to go on the game.
Daryl?
No, we're right at the end. We're finishing the bug fixing. We're getting it to the point where we're handing it over to Microsoft and Sony. And
You're fixing these sorts of things, right?
We're having none of that,
Yeah.
hopefully in the game pretty soon. A few more bugs to fix clearly. But it's getting to the point where we're done. You know, it sounds like last spit and polish, last few crashes, getting to the point where we're putting it out there.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Do you guys get a break for the holidays, or do you have to work through, since your game's coming out in the early part of the new year?
Yeah, I think most people are going to take a little bit of time off over the holiday break. I know it's going to still be busy around here, but there's some time off for individuals.
That's right.
We want to make sure that we get breaks in as well as work hard. The team's been working hard too.
Yeah. The team has been focused 100% on this content. You know, it's a hard thing to take a game as complex as Tomb Raider to the finish line. We want to make sure the user is going to get the best experience they possibly can when they get it in March.
So could you even tell us, what's your what's the most important thing that you want to make sure you nail right now? What's like the thing that's foremost in your minds right now as you work on the game?
For me, I'm very happy to say that most of the art is done on the project, but from a just a pure level of experience, we want to make sure it's as clean as we can make it. So what we're really trying to do is refine any of those bugs that you're going to see that are glaring, like pops and glitches and things like that. So from an art front, we're really trying to make it as visually smooth as possible. And that same thing goes for control as well. You just really want that player to feel immersed the entire time. Yeah. And that's been our biggest goal.
Yeah, that's where it's at. I mean, the game's done. The game's in great shape. We're really proud of it. We feel happy with where the game's at. And it's that smooth sandpaper now, just buffing and roughing the sharp edges, bugs, any glitches, anything that Brian said, pop the immersion. It's a game that once you get immersed in it, that's where it's best, that you feel absolutely enveloped in the experience. So anything that takes you out of that, whether it's a small thing or a big bug, those are important to us. So it's really just honing it and polishing it and making it feel like a polished gem at the end.
All right, Noah, how are we looking?
Well, we'll see. We're actually jumping ahead just a little bit, so we'll
Ahead from where we just started?
yeah, we're gonna.
Here. All right.
We actually made our way up from the burning village below. So we would have seen Lara make her way through and basically climb up this ladder. And we're getting close to our destination, which is to reunite with Roth, our captain.
So at this point in the game, we've already encountered him, right? But he's injured?
made contact with Roth on the radio, and
Okay.
basically this is our trek to meet up with him. Lara was very much hoping that Roth would come and get her, but Roth's providing a rendezvous point for the rest of the survivors as well, so everybody's meeting up with Roth.
At this point in the game, too, we're really trying to showcase a little bit of the escalation of weather through the game. So what we've had in this previous unit focused a lot on the fire, and the fire being a big theme of the mountain climb. But as we get up, we're starting to see the wind starting to kick up, and we're progressing on that stage of making the island's weather feel like it's an important part of the overall aesthetic. And Noah's showcasing a little bit of our pre-combat.
What do you mean by pre-combat?
Noah?
Basically, we like to give players the opportunity to sort of initiate combat sometimes. At times, you'll be ambushed, but at other times, you sort of get to come in on a situation, get the drop on the guys. Some people like to overhear their conversations and really see what's going on here on the island, and others just like to take it as an opportunity to basically get the upper hand from the start.
So what's nice about the combat is, in many cases, there's a number of different ways you can approach it. And Noah's triggered the pre-combat. These guys are kicked off at this point because he wasn't silent enough. Early demo nerves. But he could have got past this in a pretty silent way. And as you can see, the AI reacts to how you play, and more guys have come out. Backup has been called, and it's a more full-on combat encounter because of that.
We like to give each weapon its own signature flavor. So for instance, the bow for us is a stealth weapon. It gives us the opportunity not only to take out enemies silently, but create distractions. Noah shot an arrow off to the right. The AI will actually hear that, and they'll go investigate, which allows you to separate AI and then be able to deal with them individually. Here's another thing, we use tools in the game, fire being a big tool. Noah's now, for the first time, used fire in a remote way by using his bow and arrow to be able to break a lantern and create fire that way instead of using the torch.
And that's one thing that comes into play in combat as well. As much as we like to give players the drop on the enemies when we can with a stealth kill like this, we also like to provide environmental opportunities, whether that's gaining higher ground or using something like a lantern to actually create chaos in the situation.
So you're earning experience points, I notice, as you go along here. Do you earn more points for stealth kills?
You are rewarded for special kill types, including stealth kills and headshots. Part of that is just really rewarding players for things that are fun and seem cool. But also we wanted to really play into the origin story aspect of Lara becoming more powerful as a character. And as you get experience points, you can use them to unlock skills and basically tailor Lara's progression a little bit to your own style. So we created a distraction there like we were talking about earlier. That draws one guy away. See if I can get a bead on him from here. Oh, Lara's getting a little bit shaky.
That's another thing too. We've introduced in our bow mechanics the idea of a hold. So when you hold Lara's, she can only hold that bow string for a certain amount of time before it starts to become unsteady. Now part of our upgrade tree is you'll be able to buy skills that allow Lara to hold that bow longer, so you can be more confident to hold those long pulls for a longer amount of time. The longer you hold the bow, the more powerful the strike.
And that's really fun part of the bow as a signature weapon, is that it just feels a little bit different to always have that risk reward of, do I want to zing a couple arrows right away, or do I want to really charge this one up and make it count?
This is showcasing a little bit, Noah, can you turn around? Showcases a little bit of our dynamic environment too. This building's actually catching on fire dynamically. It's something that the fire will progress, and when you exit, the whole structure is now going to be on fire. So once again, the elements playing a big part of the aesthetic and also the gameplay of the game.
I want to take just a minute also to even peek back here a little bit, because a lot of times when we just play straight through, people get the impression that the game is really linear, but we always try to create these pockets of exploration. So just as an example, we've learned to shoot the lanterns. If you noticed, when we shot the first one, we actually got a challenge notification. So I have 2 of 5 lanterns now. And in any given area, we really like to give the opportunity not only to collect things like the food here, which is going to progress my experience, but also do tasks around the environment and get additional experience for finding collectibles. Over here you'll see a document. I'm not going to read it right now, but basically as you're playing, you get rewarded for finding things, but also sort of revealing backstory within those documents, shedding some light on the history of the island.
Sure. Are there rewards for completing challenges?
Yeah, challenges will give you experience points.
I can do this.
What's been really exciting is watching people really get into these systems. We are encouraging you to gain these points, but this is currency you can spend any way you like. So Noah's going to demonstrate when he gets to the next campsite how these experience points he gets and the salvage he gathers, he could put the different skills that are part of the kind of path and the way he likes to play the game. So giving that player choice and giving them exploration to find these resources really rounds out the overall experience.
One of the things about what we're seeing on screen here that I like about the game is that we actually shape the experience from big open spaces, which we're going to go into an open space here, but also have very tight, intimate spaces too. So that was a climb up, obviously a real narrow space that feels very personal and really gets you close to what the character's going through before revealing a big open hub that we're going to go into now. I think that juxtaposition is a real nice complement between the 2 different types of gameplay here.
So here we're meeting up with Roth, finally.
We've made it to Roth.
It's good to see you two.
Unfortunately, Roth had a run-in with the wolves. A little worse for wear. But this is an important aspect to Lara's character growth, that she really felt that she could rely on Roth to take care of her. And this is just one of the things that puts Lara in the position to take care of not only herself, but to really have to step up for the sake of the group.
We don't get that back. We're not getting off this bloody island.
You need bandages, morphine, antiseptic.
Also in the pack.
Shit.
Exactly.
It's another opportunity to talk about Camilla. She's done an amazing job bringing Lara to life, and this is one of those cinematics where I think this is one of the first ones we did, and it really captured the essence of who she is as a person.
Oh, don't do this to me, you northern
It's early in her
bastard.
arc. She's not sure of herself, but there's a lot of vulnerability, but also that inner strength is coming through in the cinematic. That's why I've always really liked it.
Yeah, it's a great cinematic. I think this was one that we did probably in pre-production.
It was.
And it was in pre-production. It was almost exactly the same as what you see here. And it was the moment where we all looked at it and there was almost tears in some of our eyes. I know mine was, I was welling up. I was
Big
like,
softie.
yeah, total softy over here. But it really worked.
Thank God he's still alive. Wolf tracks. Oh God, what am I doing?
So Roth lost the pack up by the wolf den, which gives us our first mission in the hub. One of the things we try to do when the players arrive at a new hub, this is our village plateau night hub. We try to give you sort of a mission that you do within the hub and just sort of get acquainted with the space. You'll find we'll sort of beeline up there and back, but one of the things that's important about these hub spaces is there's a lot of areas that you can't get to right away. Some areas that you can explore and find right away, but just as an example, over here we see some visual language for a crossing that we're not able to do yet. And even that whole side, we're going to end up traveling up to that statue over there eventually when we have the right gear to get there. So as we take this first pass through the hub, we're really consuming just a portion of the gameplay content that's in here. But we'll check it out a little bit.
About how far into the game are we at this point?
We're right under the 2-hour mark.
Around about, hour and a half.
Hour and a half,
Yeah.
depending on your play style.
Yeah.
The thing that's really exciting to me about hubs is it was a challenge for us on an aesthetic level. How do we make these large spaces that you can really go from the bottom of the mountain up all the way to the top and still retain that fidelity? So I wanted to give big props to the art team and the design team for helping create spaces that were both organic yet very playable at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this technically represents probably one of the biggest challenges on the project here, because everything you see there up in the vista in the background, you can traverse all the way from the floor up until those mountains at the back there, and it's all in real time. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's pretty much like an open world sort of technique in these hubs. I used to work on some open world games, and the techniques are very, very similar, and it's a big technical hurdle to get over, to have something that streams, that technically fits in memory, that looks good, that doesn't have a lot of pop in, and all sorts of things you have to deal with technically for getting big open spaces to work. And I think that it was a big investment from us from a technical side, as well as a learning, to actually put some of these exploration spaces together. And I think these are, for me, some of the highlights of the game.
Yeah. It's a showcase of all of the different abilities Lara can do. She's got traversal, she'll have combat she can do through here. She's going to have puzzles to solve. All of her tools her strengths as a character really shine in the hub spaces.
Yeah.
It's also a place for us to tell a lot of story. If you explore these environments, you're going to find salvage. Like over here's a salvage crate. You pop that open, that's going to give you some resources. You can upgrade your tools. You also get journals, you'll get relics, artifacts, and all of these things help build Lara up, her character, what she's doing there, and the mysteries of the island. So that's why I think the hubs are probably my favorite places in the game.
Yeah, and there's also a pacing difference as well. So it's something where you can progress as fast as you want. You can slow up. You can run around, spend a lot of time in these places, and we see, some in playtesting, some people spend a long time in these hubs and really get to poke around in every nook and cranny and find every secret. Other people want to blow through and continue with the story and enjoy that too. So you can really change up the pacing in here, which is really nice too.
Will players encounter combat within the hubs, or have you removed that?
There is some combat in the hub for sure.
Yeah.
We're about to showcase a sequence where there's an opportunity for some combat. But to Daryl's point, from a pacing perspective, we look at these hubs as sort of a break from some of that high impact action, but it's got its own sense of tension, and especially these sequences here in this challenge of getting the radio back, there's definitely some spikes in action as well.
There it goes.
These wolves have killed a lot of people.
Yeah, they're pretty scary wolves.
I just want the pack. That's all. Got it.
So now Lara's got the transmitter and the pack. She's got to get back to Roth.
This is one of the things I like about this hub is that even though it's open and you have a lot of room to explore and find your own way, it actually does come down and narrow into one of these more constricted, claustrophobic experiences where you get attacked by that wolf and really feels intense and personal. And again, that's one of the things I think is unique about this game, is going from the wide open down to something that's so intimate, I would call it,
Sure.
that I think it really provides a good difference in pacing and a good difference in feel, and makes it really feel like it's something that I think brings you closer to the character, personally.
I'm seeing so many ropes in this environment that we'll be able to utilize later on.
Well, that's something I did want to comment on. There was a lot of questions about how we're using visual language in the game, and it's important to us that we try to remain as organic to the environment as possible, but also give the players some clues as to what they might interact with. So there have been an attention to detail to make sure that ropes do pop in the environment, something that you can look at and not only say I can interact with that, but I can start plotting a course. I can start making decisions ahead of time at some distance. So these were deliberate decisions we made to make sure, while not as organic to the environment, like if you were to say, would those ropes be that bright? No, but they help us later in the game when it comes to making some of those decisions.
Yeah, they definitely stand out and catch your eye.
Yep.
What's that?
It's also something you can come back and actually find and explore on another return. So she doesn't have the rope right now in the game. So these are all little bits and pieces which you'll come back to this hub and you'll be better equipped. That we have gear gating in this game. She'll have rope. She'll be able to come back and use that. And so even a place you've been before has new possibilities and new ways to unlock and new places to explore because you now have a different set of gear.
So we made it back to Roth with the pack.
We got the pack.
We did it.
We've got the transmitter.
I assume the plan is to take that up to the radio tower.
Well, it should give us the best shot of broadcasting a strong signal in every direction. Look. Laura. We need to send out that SOS. And I'm not climbing anytime soon.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that.
You can do it, Laura. After all, you're a Croft.
I don't think I'm that kind of Croft.
Sure you are. You just don't know it yet.
Well, let's hope I'm a fast learner then.
Just be careful, Laura.
This axe is an important tool in our arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, this is we talk a lot about the bow, but this is really one of her early signature pieces of gear. We like it for a lot of reasons, but it really just symbolizes that sense of adventure, that Lara being able to traverse all over the environment, but also looking at ways that comes into play. She can now, as we saw earlier, she has the pry functionality, and she can interact with elements in the environment, and eventually she'll be able to use that in combat as well. So that's also then given us access to climbing surfaces. So we can see the craggy walls here in particular are good for climbing.
Once again, that's one of our things in the visual language of the game, is to make sure that the player is going to be able to see these things and know exactly what their expectations are clear. Like every time they see that surface, they know the axe is going to go into it. With Survival Instinct, though, if they get confused, it will illuminate and glow and give the players an additional hint. But for those that are looking for that immersion, you don't need to use Survival Instinct. Once again, it's just another tool by which the player can help assess their scene.
Should we show the viewers what Survival Instinct looks like?
Yeah, so we just did a quick pulse at the bottom, but that allows us to spot more easily the things in the world that we can interact with, and the beacon, which is our destination. But again, I would really emphasize that that's a tool that we give to the players to use when they want to.
Yeah, it doesn't stay on, right? It goes away after a few seconds and once you start moving. Is that
Think
right?
of it like think of like a ping, like you have in a submarine, that you just send a ping out and it fades over X amount of seconds. So that we're trying to make sure that you can never have this mode on at all times. It's something that you have to repeatedly do to see. And it's just a nice, elegant way to get the information you need, and then it goes back to being as immersive as we can.
So we're just learning a few of the things. The axe actually is an active attach, so you don't automatically attach to the walls. So part of what it's teaching you is when you jump between axe surfaces, there's really that sort of knuckle clenching moment where you hope you can attach right.
You know, can I just call attention to something over here?
Yeah.
So if you're observant, if you look to your right, I just want to give, I don't think we want to spoil it for people, but that's one of the accesses to one of our side tombs in the game. So for those looking for, hey, does this game have tombs? Absolutely. The hubs are another great thing I love about them, is they house these side tombs. And now that I've got that gear, that axe, it now gives me access into that side tomb. So it's another cool thing that we have in the game of gear gating, giving you more rewards.
Is there an audio cue when there's a a secret tomb nearby?
There is. There's a little hint. It's a secret tomb hint. Yeah, which gives you at least a gesture.
And in this case, we walked you right past it, but there are some later ones in the game where you do really have to kind of seek them out. We're trying to give you a little bit of introduction to all of the systems in the first couple hours here.
The other thing I really like about the traversal in here is, and it's not necessarily something you can see that easily, but on the sticks, we have a lot of flexibility in the control. So I don't know whether you want to talk about that, Noah, but we tend to lay out multiple paths and multiple options for people to play, and we have the ability to steer after you've jumped. So you hit the jump button, and you can still press left, right, forward, back, and she'll carry her momentum whichever way you direct. So you can kind of correct on the fly. You don't sort of leap and die and have to redo it again. So there's an ability to actually control her even through midair and have some after touch and after steer, which makes it feel very fluid and flexible on the sticks. And it's one of the things I like about these hubs in particular, is that we have lots of different paths and different options to try that. So it's fun to just jump around and traverse and explore without sort of feeling like you could die at any one moment. So it's good.
And you were just able to set a couple guys on fire.
Yeah, took advantage of the pre-combat opportunity there and used the environment a little bit. Yeah, and as Joe was saying, we really try to create sort of traversal playground, so there isn't necessarily always the one way to go, but there's a few ways up here. I can use my new axe, I can climb up the building and across the box, go over here. Again, there's also sort of longer detours that really reward you for exploration, but even along just sort of the main path, there's that idea that people want to feel like they're using Lara's abilities to sort of carve their way through this environment. We can see another challenge over there, so we're always providing opportunities for using your gear, like in this case the torch, and later Lara will get things that make it easier for her to light things on fire. But for now, she's got to use the lanterns to light the torch.
I think the other cool thing, which we just saw a glimpse of, is there's wildlife in these hubs as well. So it's part of what actually brings them to life too. So we have birds and there's chickens and there's boars. Yeah. So if you want to go around and hunt and collect, then you can do that too and spend some time there looking at the different wildlife. It's nice because there's an ecosystem in each of the places as well.
And of course, everything works back into our system. So you hunt for animals, you can get more XP, which allows you to upgrade your character. So everything we do, the loops, we don't force a lot of them. Oh, this is great. Noah's going to showcase one of our relics that he found in the game.
A kind of mortar and pestle. Probably
So some of these are
used for
story-driven.
repairing-
They actually give you a little bit more of context to the story about the island. Some of them are more just great things to find. But it also showcases some of the layers of history in the island. This isn't a place of just one age or one civilization. It's been sort of an amalgamation of multiple civilizations. People have crash landed here over thousands of years. And these relics are telling a little bit of that story of who's been here and why. And of course, for the completionist, you have to get all the relics, right? I mean,
You have to.
Yeah.
No question.
And you don't have to kick any pots to get these relics.
What is Laura's overall objective at this point?
Well, she's trying to get to the radio tower. So in talking to Roth, you realize that he had a radio transmitter, but it wasn't getting a signal off of the island. So the hope is, if they can get a signal out there, that there may be people looking for their lost vessel. And as Roth knows, it's sort of within those that first 24 hours or the first couple days that you really have that best chance of getting rescued. So rather than wait around for Roth to be better, it came on Lara to take that axe and climb her way to the tower.
So we just got sort of a slow motion cinematic sequence there.
That's one of the spikes we have in the game. Like, what we try to do in the pacing on these, especially these open spaces, is give you these moments where there's a little bit of that white knuckle, kind of reaction. And that was just one of those spikes. It also sort of gates you a bit into this area. You feel like, okay, now I really got to move forward.
It'll look like a bunch of old switchboards.
Okay, I'll let you know when I find
So from time to time, Laura will be in contact with some of her crewmates, right?
Yeah, so she talked briefly first to Reyes, but then to Alex, who was the electronics specialist in the crew. So he was giving her some pointers.
This really showcases our fluid cover system. Lara is, without hitting a button, she's intuitively, while in a combat situation, taking cover behind it, right? So she will take cover, she'll put her hand up against the wall. You know that she's pretty much safe. It allows you to stay focused on the action and also to keep moving. That's one of our big goals for the combat, is like, we want Lara to constantly keep moving. We want to use her mobility. So that's what the fluid cover system allows us to do.
I think the other thing to say here is that the combat is brought to her rather than her going and seeking it, and you can actually hear that in the dialogue, both from the enemies and her reaction to the enemies around her. So you hear her say things like, you know, why are you doing this? I don't want to do this. Really reinforcing the fact that she's actually the one being attacked. She's not on the hunt, and reinforcing that part in her character growth.
Yep. We missed a few of the combat situations after the first kill, which really showcases her, reluctance to kill, really. The one that we missed was Lara was grazed by an arrow by one of these scavengers, and she's backed behind a box, and she's then forced to act. And then we ramp that slowly, deliberately throughout, from first kill up to what will be one of our more major set pieces, which is later in this level.
Has she found another camp here?
Yeah, so this is another base camp. So she can, what we didn't mention earlier, she can actually travel between base camps. So if there's stuff in the first mountain climb, mountain temple area that we didn't collect, you can always travel back to that. And in this case, she's nervous about going into the base, and she takes a moment to sort of just retreat to the happier times on Sam's camera. So we get a little bit of introduction to life before the Endurance crash.
Yeah, these are the friends that she was shipwrecked with.
Yeah, so she was just talking to Reyes and Alex on the radio. Alex was the one that was going to walk her through the wiring up the transmitter. And right now, he and Reyes are debating whether we have an electrical or mechanical problem, which would put it on one or the other.
It gives us a chance to get a little bit of more of a understanding of what the motivations of these support casts are, and for you to care about them, because we really want Lara to feel isolated through the game like a good Tomb Raider game is. But then these support cast characters are very important to the game. So these little video journals are a great way for us to get to know them.
And we wanted to tell this part of the story a little bit non-linearly, that it was important to see these characters before they were in their dire situation, but we wanted to start the game just being plunged into being wrecked on the island and really being sort of at a loss as to what even's going on, and these then sort of help backfill some of that. But we did really want to plunge you into the action first and foremost, and then start to learn how you ended up here and who all the characters are.
I see.
Can you take B-roll, please?
I might be low on batteries.
You need batteries there?
Dr. James Whitman, filler 15, take 3, and action.
Okay, now take a firm grip and then slice him down the belly, like this. Yeah, you got...
And there's just a little bit of backstory with Whitman here, who's a key character. He's actually the senior archaeologist on the trip. And from a story perspective, that was kind of important for us, is not necessarily casting Lara as the lead archaeologist, that she really is fresh out of university here, and this is her first expedition. So Whitman's the one who's really leading the charge, but what we see in the early cinematics is that Lara's instincts and Lara's intuition are really sharper than anyone's on this boat, including Whitman's, and he actually has some problems with that. But,
A little bit of jealousy.
A little bit of jealousy. But it does also mean that Lara feels responsible for getting everybody into this mess. That one of the things that we see is all of these guys gathered around the table, and they're debating where they're going to find this lost civilization that they're looking for. And it's really Lara that starts presenting theories that give them something to go on, and in the end she's right, but they end up they end up getting much more than they bargained for.
And the filmmaker character is important as well, right?
That's Samantha. That's Lara's best friend. So they sort of both have a passion for Lara on the archaeology side and Samantha on the filmmaking and documentary side. So they were both excited to go on this first big adventure together.
Got great instincts, girl. You just have to trust them.
We also see some of the chemistry here between Roth. Roth really is obviously a bit of a father figure for Lara, and he's sort of reassuring her that she does have those strong instincts, and she needs to trust them.
Whatever's coming, we'll get through it, eh?
Do some upgrades.
Okay,
Maybe
Lara.
this is a good point too.
Pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Tell a little bit about the upgrades.
They're counting
Yeah.
on you.
Let's do that. We talked about this. I don't have too much because I've been not a very diligent player, but I have done enough to earn a skill point. So if we go in here, we see there's a few skill categories. We have survivor skills. There's a portion of them that are unlocked from the beginning, and as you earn more skills, you'll unlock new tiers of skills. So we see the hunter skills are more about, we can have ammo capacity. I think I'm going to buy, well, I'd hate to die in a live demo, so maybe I should buy, actually, I think we'll get dirty tricks. That's more fun. Part of the reason you can scramble and then throw dirt in enemies' eyes to blind them briefly. One of the things that's fun about this skill is it, first of all, it just showcases Lara in her character arc, that she really is scrappy. But it's also interesting because some of the skills give you new moves, and it was important for us to sort of cater to that play style. So if players like close combat a little bit more, you can sort of more quickly progress through that brawler tree. And similarly, if you like exploration, that the survival tree might be better for you. So coming up on some of these pre-combat setups we talked about.
So at this point, we know the scavengers enough to know that there's no rationalizing with these guys, right? Like, if Lara's going to progress and get this done, she's going to have to take them out. Now, what in her character though, it's best for her to be silent because she still doesn't have all of the skills yet. She doesn't have that combat expertise. So having these opportunities where she can thin the herd without having to engage in full combat is definitely to her and the player's advantage.
Can that spotlight be taken out? Will that
Yeah.
make it easier for her to get by?
But then it will alert. It
Yeah.
alerts.
Okay.
Yeah.
They get suspicious.
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
they start
They
investigating.
start investigating.
Take them out.
So that's the cool thing about our AI too. Is it's not just a situation that we've scripted. They have rules and they have different abilities that they can do depending on how you act and react as a player.
Well, but definitely at this point, it's best to be low key. You know, it's early on in the game. She's definitely overpowered, right? But the bow's a useful tool and a useful stealth weapon against that, as we've seen through this section here.
Sure. Viewers, if you're just tuning in at home, we are live streaming Tomb Raider. If you have any questions about the game, just tweet them at IGN with hashtag Tomb Raider. We'll be answering them a little bit later on in the show.
The thing that's cool too is you can gain salvage and things off of the enemies that you dispatch. So it's always important that Lara is constantly trying to gain these resources. They're going to help her progress and grow as a character.
More reasons for scavenging, that's
Yep.
for sure.
That's why I do it.
So right now, just from an art perspective, from a set piece, this is the World War II introduction. We've seen a little bit of it earlier, lower in the mountain, but now we're getting to one of these bases, and a lot of questions arise. Who made these bases? Why are they here? Obviously, this is not ancient Japanese. So what we learned through journals is that there was an era, where around World War II. The Japanese had actually set up here and tried to understand a little bit more about what this island and its power could give them as an advantage. Now they set up these bases, and obviously it's in decay, so something wrong happened. So these things are mysteries that Lara will uncover and the player will uncover just through activating and progressing through the game.
Careful! It's loaded with fuel! Yeah. Oh, shit. What do they need it for? Generator, probably. For the tower. How the hell are we gonna get to it? Need backup!
Not subtle, Byron.
Yeah. I wonder what that red barrel will do. Now to get some more salvage.
So there's still pockets of exploration as you go through the base here, so it's worth poking around, looking for salvage, looking in lockers, looking for crates. There's plenty of stuff to do even as you're going through corridors like this that are off the beaten path that you can go in and help progress your character as you go through the combat spaces. Definitely the element of surprise is one of the tactics from the enemies, right? They're in this base, kind of got some guerrilla warfare tactics going on, as you can see. So they're ready to jump out at a moment's notice and get the drop on you. So you've got to have your wits about you as you're going through these spaces, because you know they're using their guerrilla tactics. I'll talk about the puzzle now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a smaller little puzzle nugget, but we trained the player a little bit with the gas valves, so we can encounter one of those. We realized that filling the room up with gas seemed like a good idea at the time. This guy would like to see me die in here.
So we taught a lot about fire and how fire can use. Here's an escalation on the tool of fire.
Take some of that. You bad guy. Now, no one knows the path, so anybody that's coming to this fresh, as long as you haven't watched this, then there's a bit of experimentation in terms of understanding the relationship between the gas, the fire, how best to progress through this puzzle. You know, that takes a few minutes, but no one's played this before.
Couple times.
Cheating a little, a couple of times, at least once.
This is Laura's first machine gun.
You want to talk about the upgrade now?
Yeah, I mean, this is a new weapon type. So we had the bow and we had the pistol, but we got our first machine gun. So, oh no, no.
So again, Daryl was talking about guerrilla tactics. You know, they've been now aware that someone's in their structure. They've coordinated and created this sort of ambush. But Lara's gained a new tool, which is actually very powerful. Guns are not plentiful on this island, which is why, you know, those that have them, they're few and far between. So now she's actually got a kind of a powerful weapon. But Noah's going to use different strategies. You can use your bow and arrow, you can use your machine gun. It depends on what strategy you find best and what's most effective. But what's great about the machine gun, obviously, is, you know, when you have multiple enemies, you can put a lot more bullets down. You don't have to be as precise. Once again, showing our mobility in combat. We don't stay on one flat plane, like going up and, you know, usually gaining high ground is a good strategy for the player.
Yeah. And you'll hear the enemies talk about your whereabouts. You'll hear them comment to each other on what you're doing and provide tactics to one another as you go through this. You can't quite hear it here in the chair, but you know, one of the cool things about this is that they are aware of your movement, aware of what you're doing, and it really gives them a sense of bereavement. They have communication tactics. They're working together. You can see what they're doing and hear what they're doing, which makes them feel really believable as AI. I think that's one of the things we've done really, really well with this game is give the AI a personality, and it's something you don't see in a lot of other games when it's just sort of you against them. I think it's a lot more interactive than that in this game.
They'll even have dialogue for situations. So if you go behind the glass, they'll say, "She's behind the glass, shoot it out," right? So they're always trying, or they appear to be really intelligent about where you are, and some of it's scripted, but that also goes into our AI system.
Sure. And we just discovered a new camp also, I think, right? So
That's right.
Yeah, some of your camps are interior.
Uh-oh.
Wow, Noah just showcased that skill he just bought, so that's the rock to the face.
Got it.
Yeah, we try to put the campsites around multiple areas. We really want the player to feel like they can explore different areas, whether it be interior or exterior. But there's some campsites you can't fast travel to, and some campsites you can.
Okay.
That's one that you can fast travel to.
Okay. That's not good.
It's a bummer.
Dull.
All this way?
Yeah.
Alex, are you there?
Yeah.
The console's a wreck.
Damn it. Well, unless you see a Radio Shack around, you're gonna have to patch it manually through the maintenance panel.
Okay, that sounds simple enough.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to find it first. On those old towers, they installed those panels high up. I mean, way high up.
Climbing again. Great.
I think it's a good time to talk a little bit about Lara too as a character. I mean, she's a different Lara than people that have known her. I mean, she can be quippy for sure, but there's a mix of that, unsure of herself, but she's always willing to move forward. What I kind of like about those radio conversations is it does start to establish a little bit of a relationship that she has with different members of the team. She was just talking to Alex, and he gives some of that technical intelligence that she might need. So each character sort of has their own advantage to help Lara, give her some hints and give her some ideas of what to do next. But it's always Lara that really performs a lot of the major responsibilities to help get them off the island.
And despite her being different, I think one of the things that remains the same is she's always been this sort of, her inner core has always been strong. She's always been a strong, confident kind of inside, and this brings it out of her, that she's always had that confidence throughout all the games before, and that's definitely one of the things we've retained in this game, even though she's learning the tricks of her trade and she's developing that. You can see that she's a very strong individual, strong character all the way underneath. So. Sure. As you go through this journey and through this experience, it brings it out of her, but it's always there, even though she goes in, and she may not have even known that at the time. Now, do you want to talk to this?
Yeah, well, we got enough for another skill point.
Yay.
And also some salvage, so I wanted to at least upgrade a weapon real quick for everybody.
So the ammo capacity, obviously, anything you can pick up in the world, there's a point where you say you can't pick up anymore. Okay. So you can upgrade your ability to pick up more bullets, which is super important in the game to feel to be more competitive.
Buy something for the bow, trusty bow. Never a bad investment.
So what's cool about these upgrades, besides them helping your gameplay, is they're actually physically different on the weapon. You'll see these attachments. Yes. We call it scavengerizing. It's a term that Noah came up with.
I like that.
But it was something that we wanted to make sure that the weapons felt, not only did they feel more powerful, but they looked different and gave you that reward of using that system.
So what bow upgrade did you just get?
I got the reinforced limbs, which is a damage increase.
Yeah. So while Noah's fending off this dude, we do have low batteries here.
Low batteries.
You have batteries in there?
Yes. Let's switch.
Here you go. Let's throw those on there.
So I'll talk to a little bit about the game. So in here, as she came out to the vista, obviously we came from a night raining area, and all of a sudden you come outside, it's morning and starting to snow. So once again, we're showcasing the different weather in the game and how that not only plays a role in giving variety to the world and making it feel different. It also starts to, that feels a little weird. It went to snow so quickly, and you know, we're higher in the mountains, but it's starting to set up a little bit of that mystery.
Oh, that's not.
Controller's not working.
I blame the controller.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I think I don't know how many we'll show here, but there are like some death animations.
Absolutely.
There are in the game. Yeah.
I don't know for anyone who was a Tomb Raider 1. I'm a huge Tomb Raider 1 fan, the first Tomb Raider, right? But when Lara died, it was generally pretty horrible.
Yeah, she like fall from the height.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like the
that
spikes and stuff.
sure.
I'll always remember that. That crumpling was always in my mind as something like, man, we got to retain something like that. So I think we've taken that and maybe bumped it up a little bit in some of our deaths.
From what I've seen, it's definitely the bar has been raised.
Yeah.
How many are there?
I think one of the things that's cool about coming out here into the snowy level is it shows a diversity across the island that we have. Even though it's in one location, I think it really feels like that there's a wide variety of diversity across the island of both the architecture as well as the weather conditions and lighting conditions. I think the team's done a really good job in making it feel like you're not just stuck in one place and feeling like you're on it for the whole expedition, that it feels like you're really uncovering new ground, and it's a very diverse place, as you can see here.
Yeah. And basically what the scavengers are doing here is they're protecting this. This is the one sort of way that you can make communications out. So they have a vested interest in controlling the message, controlling what goes out. They don't want anyone over here. So they've put a battalion of pretty well-armed dudes to guard it. We want to make sure that whenever we're setting up a situation, that it has some groundedness and reason to be there. And protecting this radio tower is definitely something that's important to them, because they want to know who's coming in and want to make sure no one can get off the island.
Whoa. Don't die.
And you can play this situation multiple times, and you'll see the AI do completely different things. They have our AI knows, like if they're a rusher, if they're a melee guy and they're rushing in and you start firing, they're going to try to take cover. If you're taking off, taking out guys at distance, they might start to rush you, right? So those are the kind of things that AI adapt to your strategy.
They also use the environment as well. So you'll see them take objects, they'll turn crates over, they'll duck behind, they'll crate cover dynamically as well. So there's some moments where that happens.
I can tell Noah loves a bow.
Yeah, he does. The bow's awesome.
It is awesome.
Gotta be said.
Really good.
It never gets old shooting guys off zip lines, does it? Come on.
Gravity is fun. Explosions and gravity.
The thing is, you can't stay still for long because these guys have Molotovs too, and they'll flush you out if you stay on the spot. So it's really about being fluid and keeping on your toes and keeping nimble and using Lara's agility in combat. Stay put, and there'll be some Molotovs thrown at you, and guys will rush you.
We're also starting to establish a few archetypes here. That guy's one of our throwers. That's his main job is to throw Molotovs. But different guys have different jobs, not only on the island, but as far as like a combat archetype. We're about to introduce a new one here.
Who is this gentleman?
I don't think he's a friend, by the looks of him. No.
He's up to no good.
He is up to no good.
But he's one of our enforcer class guys, the guys that really have a little bit more defensive capabilities. We've introduced the shield now, something that you're going to have to get around and away from. So there's definitely going to be some strategy we're going to teach the player. And the thing that's really exciting is you can actually do dodges while you're in aim mode. So Noah just did one right there. So you can gain advantage from aim mode. You don't have to be out of aim mode to do dodge evasive maneuvers.
Uh-oh. You're on your own, buddy.
So if you didn't notice, actually, when I looted that guy, I got a 1 of 3 weapon parts. So that's actually, you've seen the salvage system where I can get specific upgrades for a weapon. The parts of weapons actually upgrade the whole weapon tier, which improves the stats of the weapon, the base weapon, changes the look quite a bit, and then also opens new upgrades for salvage. So that's sort of a progression. As Lara opens new skill tiers, she gains access to new skills, and as she collects weapon parts, she gains access to new weapons and new upgrades.
You know, can you go to the other area across, or do we want to showcase the map at all at this point? How you can set waypoints, or?
Yeah, let's see the map.
All right. So Noah's about to go to an area that you don't have to go to. It's not a part of the primary forward path. But I think this is, once again, showcasing how powerful it is to go back and sort of explore. So you go down to the bottom, right there, right there.
Yeah, we'll
Right
bring
there
it
to
up
the left.
first, actually,
Yeah.
which is basic map. We try to provide all the cues in the environment that you need. But this was the day camp before the little bridge here. So if you want to use the map for navigation, you can. But the map is also there to cater to exploration. So what Brian was pointing out was there's a treasure map here. So if I find treasure maps on the island, and then I bring up the map, you can see that things have been added there. So as we were blazing our way through here, we certainly didn't take the time to explore some of these nooks and crannies. But as an example, you can put a user beacon on those, and then in Survival Instinct, you'll see the user beacon over there. So that's just an example of some of the tools for further exploration. So, and I think Daryl spoke to this a little bit earlier, but just the idea that we really wanted, as much as we wanted sort of this high action critical path, that if you wanted new things happening all the time, you can sort of push forward. But if you take the time to explore an area, there really are lots of little hidden nooks and crannies, and we try to give players tools to make that as fun as possible as well. And then we have a final base camp available, but since we've already showcased that a bit, I'm going to go on to the critical mission here, which is to try to climb that tower and broadcast our SOS.
Can I make a small shout out?
Of course.
I would like to thank very much the art team. I mean, what you're seeing here, and you know, we've reworked our engine. We've built a lot of the team. There's a lot of people who've worked on Tomb Raider before, but some that haven't. I think what they've done here, I'm just very, very proud of it. You know, I think, and I thank the team for all the hard work they put into it, because it takes a lot of effort to try to bring these worlds to life. So I just wanted to thank the team very much for all that.
And it's really worth saying. I mean, I think the art team has done such an amazing job, but it's also, for me, it's always difficult sort of just being the three of us or a few of us sitting up here, but we have the pleasure of showing sort of a whole team's worth of work. So I would extend that shout out to the whole team, and really, I wish they could all be here.
Yeah, they're around somewhere. Probably fixing bugs.
Okay, maybe I don't wish they could all be. No, but really it's their hard work that is represented here.
I do love how the camera keeps changing in a scene to always give you the most dramatic view of the action.
I think it's that attention to detail that Noah mentioned that I think is really what makes this game special. That there's tons of little details that are in this game, and I think it really is a labor of love for the whole team. A lot of pride, energy, and passion has been put into this, and that's why some of these moments work so well, because they're not easy to do. Climbing this tower and making it something that's quite simple feel so spectacular. On paper, this is kind of boring, right? Like it's you're climbing a tower. It's pretty straightforward, but it feels very, very special because of that love that the team has put in, because of the camera work, the music, the animation, and the way it all comes together to make it a really spectacular moment.
Sure.
Yeah, this is the first project where we hired camera designers specifically. Really? Their job is just to make sure the camera not only looks good systemically, but that we provide that performance. We call it the virtual cameraman. That feeling it's really being filmed, and fluidly going from something that's a more systemic camera, something that the code is driving, and something that's more authored.
Yeah, and it's seamless between the two. I mean, it blends from one to the other, and it's really fantastic, the camera work. I think it adds a lot to the feel of the character of the game.
Yeah, it's very effective. It makes me nervous, so nervous watching her climb all the way up there.
People with vertigo, when they do this, you can see them, like they're like this. I think that's one of the things we really tried to push on, actually, is people's natural fears. And you'll see that at different points in the game as well. Claustrophobia, fire, water, heights, vertigo. So these are all things that we play with. Fear of the dark, wolves, scary animals. And they're all things that I think we all can relate to and understand, and certainly fit with the survival theme. And many of these sections have been designed to really play up one of those aspects. So this is definitely one where we said, hey, we really want people to feel like, they have vertigo. They're not feeling very comfortable when climbing this, and you see it, right? You definitely see it when people play it. Also in some of the early levels where we had, I think we showcased it before, one of the dens, the beginning of the game, the den, as you go through it, den is what we call it. We have some very claustrophobic spaces where she's literally up to here in water, running a hand sort of along the rocks, and you see people with claustrophobia hold their breath, and gasp as she comes out as they're going through sort of that similar experience at the same time. So it really does play on some of those natural tensions that you might have.
And one of the things that's exciting to me about showing just kind of this raw playthrough is to mix that with some of our core gameplay mechanics. So it's exciting for me to show just kind of running around the hub and the platforming, the traversal that Lara can do, and the combat systems, which I think really when I play through the game, we mix all of the gameplay pillars. Our goal wasn't to focus on any one type, but to really just keep moving on to something fresh all the time. So that idea that there's a variety of gameplay, there's the puzzles, there's the traversal, there's the combat. And as much as we love those sort of set piece moments, that what I love the most about this game is it just feels good on the sticks, and it's fun to be Lara. And especially as you become more powerful along with her, it really is a gratifying experience.
Yeah. So yeah, the demo ends with Lara, making contact.
She made it.
What do you guys think?
She survived. She gets
pretty good? No, you did a pretty good job of driving there.
Only one crash. That's pretty good going.
That
That's pretty good going.
That was a rough start.
And that was like exactly an hour too.
Was it? Good.
It's perfect. We're right on.
One crash and one death.
Not so bad.
Good job, Noah.
Not so bad.
We're going to queue up some questions here. Viewers at home, if you have your own questions, tweet them at IGN with hashtag Tomb Raider. We will answer those as well. Anyone here in our studio audience, if you have a question, I think, Caleb, they want you to just queue up a line here at the microphone. Anybody? No, are you able to jump back into any points of the game and to play a little bit more while we answer questions?
Good idea.
Let's see here. I'm going to look online. Does anybody here have any questions for us, for our developers today?
I tried playing a little bit more of the lower section.
Because it starts early.
Are we calling questions yet?
Yeah, we're calling up questions here. We have several queued up from our viewers at home. Steve Vo, one of our viewers, has a question about the soundtrack. He wants to know what feel were you going for with the soundtrack?
Oh, you should take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play a little bit.
Play a little bit. One of the most important things for us was to score Lara's experience. That I think we wanted to retain some of the epic orchestral feel that we love in Tomb Raider tracks, but we also, like we were doing with the character treatment, we really wanted to sort of have that sense of being there with Lara and feeling what Lara's feeling at the moment. So a lot of what we tried to do with that score was really shed light into the emotional context of the situation for Lara. So when Lara's feeling scared, the music really presents a backdrop to that. And similarly, when Lara's feeling that what we saw at the end of this demo, that sense of success and that victory and that the grand sweeping vistas, that the music's really trying to back that up. So I think the music team did an excellent job really bringing to the forefront the emotional context of our journey.
And if I understand it correctly, the score was actually recorded on sort of maybe not traditional instruments, or at least they were inspired by elements that Lara is dealing with and using to survive. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's super exciting. Like, if you start to, I gave the very high level with audio, but there were some very fun things that we did. We gave themes to different characters, so Roth has a theme, and Lara has a theme, and the scavengers have a theme. But also, the instrumentation itself was a vision for the scavenger personality. So rather than just dealing with the musical notes or the rhythms, we actually wanted the sounds themselves to sound scavengery. So Jason Graves and a sculptor friend were able to construct an instrument that was made specifically for that bringing to the forefront scavenger type sounds. And I think he did an amazing job sort of eking out any number of sounds, that there's these sort of tense grating sounds for those claustrophobic moments, and then there's the big kind of banging dirty metal sounds that when it sort of opens up and things. So to me it was fun to have that amount of creativity and passion within a group. Like we see it, that's specific to audio, but you see it with every group where people just go, how can we not only do this good, but really make it something special? And that the idea of making an instrument specifically for the game was a blast.
That is pretty special. I believe we have a question from a young man in our audience here.
So this is kind of the origin story for Lara Croft. How much of it is a new character, and how much of it is it completely the same character from all the other Tomb Raider games, and this is the backstory of that character? Or did you kind of do like a Christopher Nolan like reimagining of the character, and this is really her first story?
Well, it started with Noah, and he came to the art department and says, look, we want to create a character that is younger, believable, more believable, a Lara that has all that potential, but hasn't yet manifested that in the real world. So we knew we had a big task ahead of us to make it feel like Lara Croft and yet feel like a young, inexperienced Lara Croft. So the goal was to try to make sure that we were keeping the core attributes of her being a lover of archaeology, someone who has a thirst for knowledge and wants to go out and have an adventure. What we've done to sort of modify her is we try to make her a little bit more grounded. Her clothes are more that of, instead of being an outfit, it feels like something you would buy off the rack. And her personality is a little bit more rich. I mean, you're seeing her in various degrees of emotion, and we really wanted to bring that emotional depth through in her performance, and also gives us an opportunity to start her at one place and then have her end at another. So the idea of a Batman or a James Bond has often been thrown out by us as like saying, you're seeing these characters grow into their potential instead of starting off as like the superhero.
I think the key thing to answer your question, the second part of it, is that we didn't feel completely bound by the first version of Lara in TR1. That we felt that there's attributes obviously she brings with her, but it is that more of a Batman Begins Christopher Nolan version of the character, where we felt that we didn't have to be one-to-one with sort of her past, that we wanted to be this fresh take with obviously the DNA is coming from the same place.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Next question.
So in the main menu, I saw that you guys already had the downloadable content option. Like, what are you guys looking for doing? Are you guys going to expand on the story more, or like add in an alternative where it's still on the island, or she gets, like, while she's trying to leave, she gets trapped on another one, or what's going on with that?
I should probably take that.
Yeah, take it.
Well, it's well spotted first and foremost, because you've probably seen something you shouldn't. It's unfortunately something that is difficult to answer because we're not yet released, and I can't really go into too much detail on the downloadable content, other than we have announced that there is downloadable content, so that's no secret. But I really can't give too much more away. We're giving a huge chunk of the game away here. We don't want to give more away right now.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Another question up here? We've got more quick viewers at home. This is.
Hi.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It was just another quick question regarding DLC and all that. I know that you guys are releasing content for when you pre-order from certain retailers like GameStop and whatnot, and I think there might be some other with editions and whatnot. Would there be any plans to release them to the public over time, like they did with some other games? And then also with with the various collector's editions, certain versions had certain exclusivities. Is the same thing with that? Are there going to be any plans to release those ones to the general public as well?
Well, it's another similar question where it's a tough one to answer right now, if I'm honest. I can't really say how the future releases post-game are going to shape up. So it's not something we can get into as much as I'd love to right now. But I think the aim is to try and make as much content available to as many people as possible. So I think that's sort of what we can say right now, because we have a ton of different content with different retailers, as you said, that we'd love to make as available as possible. And we'll have to see how we do that post-release.
Okay, thanks.
That was a bit of a non-answer again.
That's okay.
My apologies.
I'm sure you have to give a lot of non-answers in your line of work. One of our viewers at home, Alone Chief, says you mentioned quick travel. His question is, so is this an open world game, or is the quick travel system a way to backtrack?
Oh, you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not an open world game. We've structured the game as a set of hubs and missions within and connecting hubs. And the goal there really is to cater to pockets of exploration. But what we find is that some people like to explore very diligently as they go. And you can do that. But at the same time, we find others that sort of feel pulled forward by the story and the urgency of Lara's situation. And we didn't want to feel like you had to find things now if you were ever going to find them. So fast travel is really a way to travel back to areas that you've previously been to and sort of have that freedom to do the exploration when you want to do the exploration and do the critical path narrative when you want to progress that.
I see. I think we have another question here.
In terms of realism, in past games we've seen everything from giant octopus to T-Rexes. So with the enemies, about how realistic are you trying to be?
I want to take this a little bit because we find ourselves getting trapped a little bit in the concept of grounding that we've really tried so hard to achieve. We consider that very different than realism, that whether it's sort of important video game conceits, like Lara can actually carry all of her two-handed weapons with her at once. That's something that isn't fictionally very true, but it was an important concession for us to allow the most fun gameplay experience that we could. And I find that whenever possible, we're catering to grounding first over realism. And the goal there is to really just feel like what you're playing is credible. You can believe it. But having said that, once we get you there, once you buy into this Lara and this island and this experience, the goal is to take you to amazing places you couldn't ever go. And if you take the time to sort of read some of the journals that we've shown in this first few hours, it's already hinting at the rich history and the mythology of this island. And what's exciting to me is, as much as we focus on survival as a core theme throughout this, that Lara's a Tomb Raider, and in addition to really growing as a survivor, she grows as a Tomb Raider, and as a hero, she becomes uniquely capable of unraveling the mysteries of this island. So without getting into what specific things we'll find, the idea is to just really give you an experience that you can believe in, but that really is an amazing, fantastic adventure, right?
Okay. Good question. Do we have another question here? You step right up.
Hi, I want to say, fantastic game.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a big fan from the old Tomb Raiders. I was just wondering if there's dual pistols.
Spoilers,
all the
left and
questions
right.
you can't answer.
Again, we really don't want, it's difficult to talk about the game without sort of stepping into spoiler space. But what is important to us is this is a character that people know and love, and there's aspects of that character that what's fun about an origin story is seeing them stepping into those shoes of that character. So without speaking to any specific aspects of Lara as a Tomb Raider, along the way, you have those moments where you're like, yes, Lara is becoming Lara. And so as a franchise, we celebrate Lara's history, and it's exciting to see her step into those shoes, or those boots, as the case may be.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Young lady like you,
Next question.
I was wondering what type of research had to be done in order to get the amount of accuracy, both for Lara as she's developing all these techniques, the climbing, the jumping, the athleticism that's involved. What type of research did you guys have to do for that?
So I
You want me to take this one?
You made Brian jump off cliff.
Yeah. No, I would say what's
Climbs axles really
I
well.
do, yeah. So one of the things that we did, our animation team led by Brandon Fernandez is industry best. I mean, they're just stellar group of animators, but they're a study of motion. So what they do more often than not is you'll see them grab the video camera and film themselves doing these moves. So there is hours upon hours of wonderful blooper reel of our team doing ridiculous things. And our executive producer, we have a fantastic piece of footage I hope we can release at some point that showcases the commitment our team goes through to make sure our motion is not only accurate, but it has a certain personality to it. The Lara you see on the screen is an amalgam of two things. We have full performance capture from Camilla on the cinematics, so we want to make sure those feel believable. But when it comes to the gameplay itself, all of that is mostly keyframed. And at the end of the project, we started introducing a little bit more motion capture into that. But our goal always is to try to make sure she feels as real and believable as possible. And we started first with just making sure we understood her character. So I think we spent most of our time just on her run cycle. Once we knew her idols and her run cycles, then we started branching out and doing everything else. Jumping, yeah. So the jump, the run, those fundamental just ground moves, we probably spent more time on those than any other move we had in the game.
Yeah, that's the meat and potatoes, right? That's what you're going to be doing so much of the game. So a huge amount of time is spent there. And I think it's a difficult balance because you don't want to sacrifice realism over playability. And I think the animation team and the design team's done a great job of sort of marrying the two closely together where it really feels fun on the sticks to play and it's convincing to watch as well at the same time. And that's a really difficult balancing act because the two quite often oppose each other, that what is believable and realistic isn't necessarily fun to play, and pure fun isn't necessarily fitting for this world and this character. So I hope you guys see it, that it feels like a really good marriage of animation and playability in this particular game, especially when it comes to controversial.
Yeah, and even on the fiction side, I mean, I think we really try to do research to understand that point of departure. So whether it's the moves or just a survival situation or we really tried to immerse ourselves in the real world examples of that. But as Daryl pointed out, what's important is knowing when to really cater to the gameplay as well. So Lara's climbing more quickly than a green climber might climb. But having said that, we wanted fun climbing. We wanted that action traversal type experience. And in Lara's case, she did also spend a bit of time in her youth adventuring with her father and Roth sort of mentoring her. So she did have a good head start, but we wanted to take that point of departure and make sure that at all times it was delivered in a fun way and that the fiction was starting with that point of departure, but that we take creative liberties where we need to make the best experience that we can.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Next, please.
A lot has been made of Camilla Luddington's performance, and from what I've seen, it's on a totally different emotional level. My question is, with the increased usage of motion capture in video games, how has achieving that emotional tone, both in the cinematics and in the gameplay, changed from a gameplay design perspective? Is there someone who's there working with her like a director would an actor on set? How much creative say does Camilla have in the performance? How does that process work?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was really valuable for us in our the primary cinematics, one of the things that's interesting is we have motion capture, but we also have animated scenes, and we capture audio on the motion capture set, but we also bring her back into the booth. But one of the things that's most exciting is when we get the full performance capture and we get all the actors working together. We're capturing the camera at the time, and what that does allow them to do is to understand the context and act off of each other a bit. That rather than everybody just kind of in a booth reading the lines that they're told to read, we get them on the stage, we actually build an approximation of the situation. So if it's a boat, we have a fake boat that they're sitting on with steering wheels, and it's all movie set type scenario. But it allows them to really feel like they're in the moment and interact with the physical aspects of the environment and also interact with each other. So it is something where by giving them that context rather than just the lines, it allows them to bring something to the table. And Camilla was tremendous with that, but really all of the actors played off of each other to sort of bring the scenes to life. And then in the game itself, a lot of those are animated by hand, so setting up a lot of the gameplay situations, it's not necessarily worth getting all the actors in the studio just to segue from one situation to the other. But once we have that animation, it's not enough to stop there, that we record that, and whenever possible, we even give that context. We had Camilla in for a little while playing through the game with us, so if there was situations where we didn't necessarily capture it on set, she could see it in the game, understand it, and then sort of play off of that. So it's a process where the more we can give them room to be actors, the better a performance we get.
Next question.
Hi. One of the things I remember early on was a release of Lara in her new form, and we all know Laura's traditional form. So I was just wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about the engineering behind the new physical build of Lara.
He asked it without asking it.
I know. So there was a lot of iteration that went into crafting a new look for Lara. Once again, we started with who she was as a person. You don't just start with a visual wrapper, you start with that core of a personality. From there, we just did traditional, what you'd expect you do. You do concept art. So we did a series of images that we felt best embodied the character that we were trying to bring forward. But as far as, we knew believability being the most important thing, we wanted to have a familiarity, yet someone that was, that you would look at and go, I think I know her. She seems familiar to me, but she's not. We just didn't want to give her that classic superhero or Amazonian kind of form, right? She needed to feel like someone that you could relate to, someone that was grounded. And then her power comes not from the way she is physically, but what she does. And then once again, I talked a little bit about her clothes. We wanted to make sure her clothes felt as real as they could. They weren't. It wasn't really uniform. It's something that you could just imagine. Someone on an expedition like this with these kind of boots, cargo pants, and dual tanks. So those are the things that we thought about. But we also wanted to retain some things. So you've got the ponytail, but the basic triangle of her face is very similar. There's a signature shape to her lips. All those things we've retained, but in a more realistic context, something that feels like a real person.
Yeah, Brian makes it sound easy over here, but it was a tough process. I mean, you remember you were heading it up. I think it's, as Brian said, I think one of the things we really wanted to do is we still retain the DNA of Lara of old, but make it feel like it's a more relevant version for this story we're trying to tell here, and the character that she represents today. And I would say that there was, I don't know how many 100 iterations.
A lot of rounds.
A lot of rounds, and a lot of just nitpicking and pulling every point, because the personality of a person, especially when you look at their face, you make snap judgments. So there was a millimeters difference on everything from the shape of her face to her nose to her mouth, her eye shape. And I remember seeing, we go into a room, a number of us, sitting here, and the team as well, going into rooms and seeing, I don't know, 20 or 30 versions of Lara lined up, and it's like, this is the version where she's got bigger nostrils. This is the version where her eyebrows are arched. And this is the version where she's got red lipstick on. It was each one was different, and we honed it and sculpted it and fine-tuned it down to the point where we all sat there and said, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So it was a long process, though, huh?
Yeah. But it was an important one. I think if we hadn't spent that time, I don't think we would have found the character that we have on the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, we even had scans as a part of our process to get some details. So, I mean, it went through a lot of different processes to try to get to the end product, but I'm so happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, and there was many points where it felt like that we'd found the one, and then a few months would go by, we'd look back at what we'd done, and we're like, actually, it's not really quite right. Let's do this again. And people start pulling their hair out, and
I'll say one other thing that's important is VisualWorks, our partner in Japan that did our trailer, actually was very instrumental. As we were locking down our character in-house, they were doing the trailer, and we influenced each other too. So that was another great
it was a
tool.
collaboration. Yeah,
there was a lot of collaboration going on at that time.
Great question.
Great question. Thank you.
Were there any big technical hurdles that you had to get past to get to this? Like any ones that would really stand out?
Yeah, I'd say that there was a ton. I mean, the engine's been rebuilt for this game because we were doing so many new things. So everything from the animation system is completely new in this game. So that meant that none of what we'd done in previous Tomb Raider games could really carry across because it had to be built from the ground up with the new animation system and with the control schemes that we were looking to put in and sort of the flexibility that we wanted on the sticks. As you can see from just seeing some of the combat here, combat, AI, aiming, all of that was built from the ground up and really, new technology that we put in from the AI pathing to the aiming, shooting, to the weapon, the gunplay, Lara's moves. The cover system is obviously something I think we feel very proud of. I mean, it's a fluid cover system. It's something that we don't see in every game. And we prototyped that and spent a long time iterating with, at the time, when we start going through this and see it for the first time, there's a lot of early prototypes that make you feel like it's not going to work out. And through perseverance and really honing the engine, I think we've got something that's very unique there too. From a cinematics workflow standpoint, no at all to that. A lot of new techniques there. From a technical standpoint, I think the hubs were the big undertaking. Definitely it's something that we would not have been able to do in the past. I mean, some of the hubs, we've seen one here. There's multiple hubs in the game, and by the time you get to the end, they really are, they're
Massive.
huge, right? They are huge hubs to go and explore, and they're awesome to look at. And there's no way we would have been able to do that in the past without investing very heavily in the technology. So I would say they're some of the biggest challenges that we've faced, and some of those I think have been tough to pull off. I think the workflows, that's another.
Horizon
actually,
is huge.
yeah, we actually invested a lot in workflows so people could iterate much more quickly on screen. And that's so important when you're trying to find quality, to actually get something on screen and try it and sort of fail and try it again and fail and try it again, because games don't you see this end product and what you don't see is the thousands and thousands of iterations that it takes to actually get there. So one of the things we did was invest very heavily in the tool set to allow designers and artists to work very, very quickly. And we have almost a real-time link to the game where they can actually edit something in their native software, whether it's the level editor or a 3D package. And you can see that update and refresh in the game on the screen and play it straight away. And I think that's another key to the success of this game, is allowing for tons of iteration, experimentation, trying things, throwing it away, and trying it again until we actually got it right. So there was a ton of technical work that we put into this game in the early part of the project that allowed the team to really set up and achieve the results we see on screen. Yeah. Anything else you'd throw in?
I would just say that investment in tools. I would say as a developer, we couldn't make this game without the new tool set. So big props to our programming team, because we own our technology. I mean, what you see there's no off the store package for this. This is something we authored at Crystal. So they've just done an amazing job giving the artists and designers the tools to be successful. I mean, the amount of programmers we have on this team are a lot less because they gave us these tools, and that was very, very important to us.
Yeah, great question.
Thanks. I think we got time for one more question here. This comes from Jameson KB, who asks, what was the most important thing from previous Tomb Raider games that you wanted to preserve?
Wow. Tough question.
For me, I wanted to get back the feeling I had the first time I played Tomb Raider, and I'll never forget it. It's what opened me up to the idea of wanting to. It sort of got me into a direction saying I want to make games like that for the rest of my career. So I wanted it to be inspirational. I wanted it to feel fresh. I wanted it to feel like a Tomb Raider game. These are my selfish things I wanted to do, but I also wanted to, in order to get that feeling again, we had to change some stuff. So it's sort of jumping off that cliff and saying, what can we retain? What are we retaining, and what can we change and still make it feel like a Tomb Raider game? So that was my big goal. Was like, how do we make it feel like that first time you played a Tomb Raider game? That was my hope.
Anything you'd add?
Excuse me, a bit of a cough, but I think for me, I think the original Tomb Raider was such a revelation in terms of its character, the character on screen, and the world that you're exploring. They really pushed the boundary with that original one in a way that we'd not seen before. And I think that's one of the things that we really wanted to get back to, was pushing the boundaries of what you could do with characters in video games, because that really did provide the link back to the original. And some of the things that we've done here, I think, really have taken great steps forward for the Tomb Raider franchise. But in general, I think we've tried to push that in this game, beyond just it being a Tomb Raider game. I think in video games as a whole, that sense of developing a character, that sense of wonder of seeing not only her develop, but also the spaces you go through and exploring and revealing these new spaces that you get to experience as this Tomb Raider. I think that sense of just pushing the envelope with the character is really the thing that we talked about a lot actually at the beginning of what really made Tomb Raider special, and we wanted to take that and push it forward. Noah?
Yeah, I mean, these guys covered it for the most part. I think one of the things that was most important as we put a focus on the narrative and Lara's progression and character arc was to still celebrate choice and exploration and discovery. So I think the idea of tombs and finding something that you're pretty sure that most people playing the game didn't find, that was something that was absolutely important for us to hold on to, and in fact we really designed the game around a structure that would allow people to both pursue the high action or gripping adventure, but really also get lost and wander around a place that feels like no one's ever been there, and Lara's finding stuff that no one's ever found, and I guess that sense of discovery is something that we really wanted to hold on to from the original games.
Yeah, sense of wonder.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
The original Tomb Raider was the game I bought with my PlayStation.
Yeah, me too.
That's great. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to show us your game today. It's looking really fantastic. Tomb Raider is out on March 5th. But this is just the start of Tomb Raider week for us here at IGN. We have individual Tomb Raider previews going up every day this week. So tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll have a rerun theater of the new VGA trailer, the latest Tomb Raider trailer. We'll be going through frame by frame, seeing how many details we can pull out. Wednesday, we have the Tombs of Tomb Raider. We'll show you a little bit more about what the tombs are like in the game, a little bit more of the secret tombs, the challenge tombs. Thursday is upgrading Lara Croft. We'll show you even more about upgrading her skills and equipment. And then Friday, we have another trailer that gives you a very high-level overview of all the different mechanics in the game. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for our live studio audience for joining us here today.
Thank you.
You guys have been awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in at home. This has been IGN's live stream of Tomb Raider, and we'll see you all very soon.